NERDSoul.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Inclusivity panel. Thank you guys so much for being here. So I'm letting you guys all know right now, this is not a PG-13 panel. So if that offends you, please leave now.
Fucking shit, pussy.
Alright, great. I will start. First of all, thank you. This has been an amazing and incredible and chaotic year. There's so much that has happened. We all have so many stories and so many things to talk about. And I am so thankful that I have such a diverse and creative and talented and wonderful group of people up here. I'm just going to introduce their names. I'll let them kind of go down the line and introduce themselves. Spoiler alert, guys, I did not warn you about that. But this is the way it's going to work.
We know who we are.
Do you though? Like internally? Like there you go. So I have a few questions that were asked by you guys on my stories. So we're going to run down that for my panelists. If you feel moved by the question, grab the mic, shout it out. We have 15 minutes to kind of get everything out. And then right around the 20-minute left mark, if you guys have questions for any individual person that you want to talk about, or just an overarching question that you think needs to be asked, please do so. So the time is yours. You guys can make a line here, and we'll try to get as many of those as possible. But without further ado, who wants to start? What end? What end? Joey, Sammy, Joey, where do you want to start? Alrighty.
Hi everyone, I'm Sammy Rubin. I'm really excited to be here, and I hope everyone's having a wonderful con so far.
Hello, I'm Oddfell.
Is that mic on?
I don't know.
It was really.
It was.
You gotta eat the mic, babe. Is it?
Yeah,
eat it.
It's super close. Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm Oddfell. This is my first LA con, so I'm excited.
So much pressure. The mic's not on either.
Is it not? I'm sorry, I can do it. Hi everyone, this is my best friend Juju. I was specifically asked to only call him my best friend this entire panel. I can show you guys.
justified.
That's my best friend. He's not going to do a lot of talking. Not that you would want to hear from him, but sorry, do you want to use my mic?
I think you said it all. So.
Does this one work? It kind of works. Hi, I'm Nikki Barberina. I am a content creator on TikTok, anime, Marvel, and the like. So yeah.
We're just here. Hi everyone, I am Jasmine More. If you follow me, again, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm not going to do a lot of talking. I'm kind of going to give it to my panelists, but I'll speak up when I need to.
I'm Quinn Morris. I like to cosplay, and that's pretty much my whole spiel.
Hi, my name is Ace of Spades. I'm this is not my first ComicCon, but my first panel. Thanks to my. I just want to thank you guys. Like just little things like this, it means the absolute world. I have such amazing friends. My boy Juju and Suits. I met them when we were very small creators with only 300K, and now here we are doing stuff like this. And it's honestly just. We were babies. My boys, and I'm making so many more great friends, and I'm so glad to meet so many great people. You knew me before the ones.
Hi guys, I'm Joey, the Filipino Latina. This is. I also do ASMR on YouTube, so I'm so excited to be here.
So let's get into these questions. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, so the first question. Do you feel, as your platform grows, that you are almost required to speak out against injustice? Do you mind? Do you think that it's fair, and is that something you willingly accept, or does this not apply to you? We're getting the hard ones out early. That was asked on Instagram. It was right after, what is your favorite thing to cosplay?
Start anywhere? I'll go first. I'll break it up into parts because it's sort of broken up into parts. As I do become a bigger creator, I think at first I started doing this just for fun, just because I felt like cosplay was something I wanted to do and I loved it. But I think I started to actually want to start talking about the injustices and everything when I had a lot of supporters and everything come up to me that were African American or minorities in general saying thank you for cosplaying because it makes me feel like I can cosplay. So that immediately made me realize that I'm talking to an audience that I might have not even thought about because I was just doing it for fun. So being able to have these people come up to me and say thank you is like, it took me off guard because I was like, oh, I'm just doing this like just to do it, but to know that I can help out in some way is fantastic. So yeah, I do feel like it's necessary to talk about it since it is something that isn't necessarily represented across cosplay completely, so.
I'll take, yeah, I want to add. It's really hard because, especially as people of color, when we start getting a platform, it's expected of us to have to talk about that stuff, and sometimes like, I don't feel like we feel like we have the right to just exist and do what we want to do, whether it's cosplay, whether it's comedy. And a lot of Black creators, we go through this, like every time something happens, like we get DMs and like, you gotta talk about this, you have to talk about this. And like, we're not the Avengers of social justice, you know what I mean? Like, and so, like the bigger that you get, like I think it's very important to talk about things that like tug on your heartstrings. But there are just so many issues going on in the world, and you can only like handle so much. And I'm big on mental health and boundaries, and like I'm like, you know, talk about like what really tugs at your heartstrings, like if you feel moved to. But like during like Black Lives Matter and everything, like in June, people are like, oh, are you gonna talk about Black Lives Matter? I'm like, I'm a Black bitch. I'm going through this shit too. Like I'm exhausted. Maybe I don't want to talk about it, but that's okay. And I don't think people tell us like I don't think that sentiment is expressed enough that like you don't do what's comfortable for you and like set your boundaries, you know.
I think I can jump in on that too.
Do you need a mic?
Yeah, I do need it. Oh wait, hold up.
He was late and the mic was late.
Voice is checked to the chat. So I think like for me, because obviously I'm not as talented as a lot of these cosplayers here.
Boy, you don't sit down.
It's a different kind of talent. It's a different kind of talent is what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is like me, in a space that I'm in, talking about movies, like when we talk about movies just period, it's all about point of view, it's all about perspective. Anyone who's making, anyone who's consuming something, it's all about like how do you take that in from your point of view, right? I have a Black point of view. Like I'm a dude from Compton, like I literally grew up with like nothing. So the way I see movies is gonna be different than a lot of other people. And there's not a lot of people that look like me that are quote unquote movie critics or analysis or just into pop culture like that. You don't see a lot of it. So whenever I'm watching something like say Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or I'm seeing something like say one of my favorite things ever, Nightmare Before Christmas, how technically it's more about cultural appropriation. Have to talk about how that is about cultural appropriation. You have people who will always want to fight back and say, no, it's not, no, it's not. Well, you got to see it from my perspective. You only see things from one perspective. And I do feel like now, as my platform grows, it is my duty to show you that perspective, because then you're only going to see it one way. I'm literally here existing for the it's not that deep crowd. And to show you it is that deep, because it is.
Does anyone else want to hop on that question, or do you want to move on to the next? Yeah? Let's hear it.
So before I guess I had my big boost on TikTok, there was a time when I did talk about movies with Juju over there, and I used to just make a bunch of different content. And when, the terrible events of George Floyd happened, and I made a video, a lot of people kept on saying, hey, you should be talking about this, you should be talking about this, let's talk about George Floyd. And I'm just like, I was like, all right, maybe I should talk. I wanted to avoid that because I didn't want to because I looked at it as, yes, it was terrible, and it shouldn't have happened, but my biggest fear was if I talked about it, it was going to get political, and I like to keep, politics off of TikTok. But, in reality, sometimes it has to be brought to it. So when I did finally talk about George Floyd on my TikTok, I kept on getting attacked of, oh, well, it's this and this and that. And I'm just like, well, you wanted me to talk about it. You wanted me to give my opinion, but it's just not the opinion that you wanted to hear. So sometimes, like, God forbid, something bad like that happens ever again, and we're all big content creators. It's gonna be like, oh, well, what do you want to say? Like, what do you have to say for yourself? My biggest fear is that I'll say the wrong thing, and I'll just get attacked again. And throughout the day, no one likes to be attacked. You can say, oh, ignore the messages, but it comes to a point where all the messages and all the hate they get to you. So that's why sometimes I'll be reluctant to even talk about like social issues or like, you know, political standpoints, and I just try to stay off of that. But that's just me personally.
No, I want to bounce off that because you and Nikki said something very important, and it is about your mental health. Because me, I built my platform on social justice. You know, I really strive for that. If there are smaller creators who are getting bullied, they know to at me immediately, and I will be there to defend them. But you know, it's hard because now I'm opening myself up to, I have what, almost 500K now on TikTok, and that's a lot of people to protect and defend, and it's draining. And it is very unfortunate because I want to be there to protect every single person, but I am one person. You know, even answering our DMs is exhausting at a certain point because we want to answer every single one of you. I want to give every single one of you the time, the attention, the love that you all deserve, but I can't. And that's the reality of it, and it is so unfortunate because I don't want to say that I can't do it. And I mean, hell, some of these people, millions, it's hard. And it's unfortunate because really, we aren't allowed to say that, you know? And so when I have all these people coming and defending, we want to be there for you, but it really is about the mental health of it. And you know, at that point with this conversation, I say, I'm sorry, and I will do the best that I can, and I think that's kind of the gist of it. That's really the pinnacle of it is we are going to be there for you as much as we can, but know that we cannot always be there for you. You know, so we want to build with our platforms the conversation so that you have the tools to kind of build your strengths. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I think also it's really interesting since all of us seem like we want to have that place to be able to protect and do all that, but there's like, you know, not 50,000 of us, you know? So I think it's even harder because the group becomes smaller because there's not a lot of creators that are of color. So it makes it even harder for us because then they're coming to us and they're asking for help and everything like that, and it's amazing when we want to, but some of us also want to create a safe space for people to go to. You know, some people go home and they have horrible lives, and it's just like, you know, we want to give that safe place where you can actually be. And so I think that's also a hard part too, is that since there's so little of us, it's harder for us to protect a lot of people too.
It's not even POCs, it's also those with mental disabilities, it's, you know, it's the LGBT. There's so many marginalized groups that are shunned. You know, if you don't look like the cosplayer, if you, you know, use the cosplay in a different way, you know, that isn't canon, you get in trouble from the cosplay community. It's almost like your own creative expression is great, so long as you do it in a way that everyone enjoys, or they're used to.
It's a lot of emotional energy. A lot of emotional energy and expended, and like even if like it's something that I had to learn. Like even if you have like 1 million, 2 million people, and you feel that responsibility, like never forget that you also have a responsibility to yourself.
You know what keeps me going when you talk about, you know, people trying to shun you from a community that you love. This is kind of like my rock anthem that like kind of keeps me going. The one that goes, Kanata isn't black. Kanata isn't black. She gonna be black today. She gonna be black today. You know, and like talking in these spaces of like, you know, just talk about movies and pop culture and those type of things. It's so funny that whoever creates these pieces of media, right? Nobody ever thinks like, oh, it's only made for just this one group of people. So I think it's I think it's completely idiotic to think like, oh, this was only made for me and not anyone else. And for some reason when, say like someone who looks like Ace, or someone who looks like Nikki, or someone who looks like everyone in this room, it's like, oh, well, you know, you shouldn't cosplay as that person that you love so much. It's like, why? Like, why are you thinking that way?
Can I
It's so
steal that real quick?
Yeah, go for it, please.
Get it, girl, get it.
Okay, so as I said, I'm super new to cosplay, probably about 6 months, and I actually started because I saw Jasmine on TikTok. You know, here I am, depressed, during him. No, seriously. And I saw her Daphne, and I just thought, oh my gosh, like here's somebody who doesn't look like what Daphne stereotypically looks like. Gorgeous, absolutely started following her, and just was like, you know what, I'm gonna step up and try it too. Literally, my third cosplay that I did was Harley Quinn. Who doesn't love Harley Quinn? And people were talking that shit. Like, bitch, you're not white. Like, damn, you don't look like Margot Robbie. What are you doing? I was so... Seriously. So I'd never gotten that sort of attention before. And I deleted it. I got bullied into deleting it. And then literally like, the next day, I reposted and was like, yeah. Nobody tells you like you can't be dressed up as whatever you want, but all of a sudden now that we're adults and cosplay, oh no, you don't look exactly like that person. You didn't do your hair exactly like that. Like, no, fuck that.
I want to jump on that.
Yes.
So that's what my boy Juju was saying. He was saying how like, you know, when say if a character or something gets made, people think that it's just for them, like it's for a certain group of people. I'll never forget back in 2000 and I believe it was 2008 or 2009 after the Ultimate Spider-Man comics ended. Miles Morales was introduced as the new Spider-Man. And back then, it was like, oh my god, Black Spider-Man, but it was in the comics, and back then, comics weren't as big as they were. But what I do remember, and I know Suits remember this, and I know you know this, when the Spider-Verse movie, the first one was announced, and they showed the trailer, people were like, Black Spider-Man? There's no such thing as a Black Spider-Man. Peter Parker isn't black, and I'm just like...
Said the comic book fan.
Exactly. All I thought was, first off, not Peter Parker. Second, it's not just one, like, he's not... The thing about art and just anything like comic books especially, like, it's supposed to branch out and reach to a lot of people, and that's why people love superheroes. That's why I love superheroes as much, as because like there's at least one superhero out there, or a supervillain if you're like, into it. That it's just like, I mean, me, I love Peter Parker, I love Spider-Man. He was my biggest idol. Back when I was a kid, I grew up in North New Jersey, not a really good area, so I always spent my time in the library reading Spider-Man comics, and I thought, man, Spider-Man is so dope. And then when Miles Morales came out, I was just like, damn, I like it's not about Peter Parker or Miles Morales, it's about Spider-Man himself. It's not about like the name of it. It's about like, I don't know, what the character brings to you in your life. And
The symbol.
I don't know, yeah, exactly.
It's a symbol.
You
Yeah,
can wear
it's
the
a
I think
like,
you can wear.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because I think a lot of the time people have sort of forgotten what cosplay is. Cosplay is you showing love for a character. It is not you being accurate. It's not you looking exactly like the character. You're cosplaying a character because you love it. So realistically, you coming in here and saying that we don't look accurate to the character is bullshit. Because in reality, it's like we're cosplaying all these characters because we love them. I just had a recent issue where I've fallen in love with a show called Arcane. All my friends back there. Alright, we'll talk later. But I've fallen in love with this show called Arcane, and immediately a lot of people were like, you should cosplay Echo. Oh my god, you should cosplay this character. And I'm like,
Don't get me wrong.
I'm gonna cosplay Echo too. But a lot of people, that was the first response. They were like, oh, you should cosplay Echo, you should cosplay this, stuff like that. And I'm just like, all the black characters?
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
and Stormy.
Exactly, and so my thing was, as you can tell, I'm dressed as Caitlyn. The thing is that I absolutely adore Caitlyn. She is one of my favorite characters, and so is Vi and a lot of the other characters. And I think and one of the frustrating things is having somebody come and just be like, hey, you should do all these black characters, when in reality it's just like, that's not the character I love though. Yeah. Like, and I'm all for black characters and everything, but that I want to cosplay Caitlyn, I'm sorry, and I'm gonna do it. And if I'm black and I'm doing it, get over it. Like,
I am going to move on to the next question. I'm sorry that was so thick. But I am going to start with you two down there, just so you know. So the question is there a specific moment that you can recall, I'm sorry, let me take that again. Is there a specific moment you can recall where you saw a lack of inclusivity and you stepped up?
Well, I kind of want to take a moment right now to do that and bring something up.
Yeah, please.
Because I do have a photographer friend who a lot of us know, and I'm not going to name names just to protect, the privacy of this person. They are in a wheelchair and they are disabled, and they've been like this for a long time. It's perfectly normal. Lots of people in this world are. They showed up to LA Comic-Con yesterday to pick up their badges, and they were just looked at as if we don't know how to help you. We don't know what to do with you. And that is unacceptable because the badges you had to get by going down the stairs or upstairs, they obviously cannot do that. It's moments, it's small moments like this. This actually happens to him at all of the Marvel premieres that they get invited to. It's in those little things.
Because it's not inconvenient for the mass majority, but for this one individual.
There is so much money and there is so many people here in this building working this event that someone should be able to start a conversation and be like, all right, how is this accessible to those who are in a wheelchair? Because that is not an abnormal thing. And I'm glad that I had the chance to bring this up today because this happened yesterday and it happens to him like once a month.
We're gonna talk about that later.
Yeah. Always room for more.
And I think even this mic is really, we're just gonna. And I think even when it's something like, you don't see it in person, or you see it in a comment section, or you see hate in your comment section. I think that if you have the mental health to do so, because I know sometimes hate comments can be a lot and can be hard, rebuttaling them in constructive ways, because you're not the only person seeing that hate comment. Someone who might be wanting to cosplay might also be seeing that hate comment and go, well, that's going to just be me. That's going to be where I'm at as soon as I see it. So I think rebuttaling it in a constructive way is a small way to help if you're not also saying things on other people's posts. You can absolutely go in and stand up for other people too, but I think it's important sometimes to make sure how you're presenting yourself and even responding to things is constructive. Because I think it can also be discouraging if you're someone that people like your work and then you just don't address your hate comments. They might be like, well, I'm just gonna get that too, and I can't handle that. So I think that's a small thing that I think a lot of us can do just to kind of encourage people.
It takes a lot to step up.
Yeah.
Like honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
Can I actually bounce on that one?
Yeah.
So I don't know if most of you saw, but I had a big issue with New York Con. So that's that thing. I'm nodding it. Yeah. So it was a really big thing. I posted a video. Taya Miller. She posted a video, very harmless. I love Taya. It was a very harmless video where I dressed up as 02. It's one of my memes. And there were a lot of negative comments. One of which, I think the worst one was trigger warning, Black 02. And it was a very just awful kind of thing that I had to deal with, and unfortunately, New York Comic-Con was busy, and so the hate comments kind of kept going. It's now their most popular video, but because after all the hate comments were going crazy, the conversation switched. And it then became a conversation of love and a lot of support, not only from the Black community, but all communities. Because everyone came in and kind of not attacked these people, but really put their foot down and said, this is not acceptable. And it through the help of Juju, with the help of Taya, we got the conversation going, and we were able to turn that negative situation into a positive. So it is unfortunate that these people exist, but as Onfel said, it's about turning the conversation into something positive, because people are watching. People saw all of those hate comments, and they said, not today. Like they said, not today, and they turned that conversation around, and now that video still is the highest ranked video on New York Con, but because it's swarmed with positivity. So thank you, Taya. I appreciate that.
I'm just holding it because I have to eat it. Intersection. Sometimes we forget about intersectionality when we talk about inclusivity, and like diversity is one thing, inclusivity is another. I was at a con recently, and it was one of those diversity and inclusivity panels, and it was an organization of all people of color, and basically, and it was a panel just like this. There were two women, and I noticed that the men just kept talking over the women. I mean, they were all people of color, but the women barely got to speak. And I'm like, this is a problem. So I raised my hand, and I was like, I have a question for the women only, because they didn't get a chance to speak. And so even amongst us, as people of color, we need to be cognizant, even within us, we fall a certain place on a social ladder. Light-skinned people, we have more privilege. Men have more privilege than women. Heterosexual people, we have more privilege than the LGBTQ community. We need to make sure that we're not speaking over those people that unfortunately happen to fall under. We can fuck it up within our community too. When we're trying to have these discussions, we need to remember not to do that, so yeah.
Yeah. What I was gonna say was it goes 100% with what you're saying. Intersectionality is a real thing, and I think also keeping silent when it comes to helping out people is also a huge thing as well. Because keeping silent, you may think you're just trying to protect yourself from not getting political on TikTok or not getting political anywhere else. But if you don't say anything, then you're definitely 100% contributing to the problem, right? So, and that includes if you're making a post and then someone is leaving those hate comments, and you're just letting those hate comments go, and you're just kind of well, I don't want to jump into it because I don't want to damage my fan base or my following. I don't want to alienate those type of people. But there comes a point where you have to realize who are you making the content for? Like, are you making it? Are the people that you want to see your content those type of people who will enact positive change, who wants positivity, or are you trying to appease the vast majority where you do have those truly like awful, evil people as well? And then you got to ask yourself, is it worth it? Like, are all those followers worth it if half of your following are people who are not even going to stand up for you?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's really important to really like stand up not only for yourself, but for, like you said, for those people in those comment sections, because they're like, we're not trying to be role models out here at the end of the day. Like, I'm pretty sure we all just got out here because we wanted to have fun on camera. We wanted to have fun taking photos. And then just from our charisma, just from like our passion, people followed us, which is why we have followers, right? So if those followers are this piece of shit garbage, like, what the fuck? You know?
I don't want you. Get out the club.
It's hard sometimes. You don't want to make people angry on your platform. You want people to come up there and have fun and have a good time, but you do just have to put your foot down at some point and be like, I just don't want you here if you're going to act like that. And it's hard, but you've got to at some point.
I mean, it's the whole thing is owning your space, right? And so this is my house. Like if someone started like heckling in this room right now, like Comic-Con security would kick them out because this is Comic-Con space. That's not the rules of this space. So if that's your space, it's the rules of your space. Block, delete, whatever, respond, whatever you gotta do. It's your space.
I think one of the hard conversations to do, and this is very hard, I think, at times to do, but also like talking to your friends about it and being able to say like, hey, what you said is not okay. I know a lot of us don't want to lose friends, we don't want to whatever, but at the end of the day, if what you are saying is not accepted, they're not your friend in the first place. In reality, I had one of my friends come to me crying and bawling his eyes out because he didn't feel accepted into a group. So I went to that group and said, hey guys, what are you doing? And had a whole conversation with them for however many hours and just explained it. And I had a couple people saying like, oh, are you afraid like they're gonna hate you? And I was like, to be honest, I don't care, because if they don't hear what I'm saying, then they're gonna continue to do this and more people will feel horrible and more people will feel bad. So apart from like, obviously like, standing up for people in the comment section and everything, even standing up to your friends, like sometimes can be hard, but it's something that has to be done because it really starts with you at the end of the day. This problem it's a long, long road that we have, but in reality, it really does start with you. And if you see your friends, you see your family, anybody saying anything that is just not equal or fair to anyone, then you just have to stand up, and that's a very brave thing to do, but that's what superheroes do, so.
This was kind of going off of something that Juju, you said, it like inspired something in my brain. I've been in therapy for like over a year now. That's kind of been, I'm less active on social media, but like that's where I'm most active in life these days. And my therapist and I, worked on something to help me introduce new things to my page that I feel strong enough to speak on now, from working and stuff. And once a month, I do a daily cleanse of what I call it for the assholes who should not ever feel welcome on my space. And it starts with little things like, I'm a woman, I get a period once a month. So you better believe when I get my period, I am talking about it. Because if you can't deal with the simple things as that, there's also so many things I know that you cannot, that you're going to fall into, that it's like, don't come to this space, just be, have your opinions, keep them to yourself.
I mean, that person's gonna have a hard time with marriage.
Some of these people are married, and that's terrifying.
So we have 20 minutes left.
Oh my god.
I know, no, it went really fast. We got 20 minutes left, so I'm actually gonna open the floor to you guys. If you have questions for individual people on the panel, if you have any, for the mask, the space is now for you guys. Come up here. You guys don't have literally line it up. We want to see your faces. Yeah,
we won't fight. We won't fight.
Please, if you guys want to all line up here, if that works.
Oh my god, that Jinx cosplay is awesome,
baby,
by the way. Shout out.
I'm gonna actually have you, because you're gonna be blocked by it. Maybe come this way, and then you guys line up on the side of her if that works. Can you still see everyone? I don't know. I tried. Hello? I wish. Because it needs a little thing. You know what? Take one. Hold on, take one. You guys are good. Can we take it? Yeah. That's yours. All right. I honestly don't need a mic, to be honest. But back because we don't have masks outside.
Oh, it moves. Okay, cool. I was afraid I was going to yank something out.
Oh, you're good.
But yeah. Hello. So,
What's your name?
My name is Amanda. I also create content. My name is Amanda Spiven. Here, Spiven.
Amanda Spiven.
And so I'm like new to cosplaying. The first time I ever cosplayed was like last year, and it was kind of that big same thing where I was like afraid to do so because I didn't look like any of my favorite characters. So I felt like I couldn't dress up as those characters because I didn't look like them. And so when it comes to like, how did you kind of get past that fear of being like, oh no, I'm gonna get those like comments of.
I didn't give a fuck.
Okay.
I started off with Daphne. There was not even a thought in my, and I'm different. There was not a thought in my mind I could not do this. And there were, I literally am gonna make like the Urban Dictionary, or not Urban Outfitters book, table book of just all the hate comments I've gotten. Because I save every single one, so you all know. Not only do I save every one, I save everyone, and I have other friends who have sent me some as well, and I can read those later if you like.
Oh my god.
No, they're awful. But you know, it's I don't know why I did it, but anyway, no, there was never a point in time where until I did it, that I saw the reaction, but like it almost.
It's like I love that my existence infuriates you.
Yeah, it's so great.
I'm
just so bothered by my presence on this.
Yeah.
You're such a little person.
My happiness infuriates you, and it's so just like it almost.
I can just imagine you having like a collage of all the hate comments. Just going out like
I think it's also just remembering like why, like at least for me again, like no, I'm sorry, no, exactly, no, you were right, fuck them, like literally, but I definitely also think that if you started this because you love it, that's like all you gotta think about. Sometimes like when we just think about the color of our skin and everything like that, just constantly, it can become insecure. Like, you know, I was even nervous getting into Caitlyn today, but in reality, it's like you have to move past that and realize I love this character, so I'm gonna do it regardless, and that's it.
Surround yourself by people. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're good.
I'm literally surround yourself by the right people. I cannot stress that enough. You are your community. And if you surround yourself by people who are like, oh, that Wanda, no, fuck that. Yeah. Surround yourself by people who love you, and the rest doesn't fucking matter.
At the end of the day, too, if every cosplayer that cosplayed a character looked exactly like the actor, exactly like the character, it would be boring, and no one would like it anymore. Like, cosplay is largely about embodying the character, making it yours. If everyone looks like a carbon copy, that would be so boring. What would be the point? So I think there's also this thing where no, like I'm making this mine, and this is how I'm going to make this character. That's powerful.
A character more than likely is like one thought away from being something else anyway. Like we're we're just a scheduling conflict away from having fucking Will Smith as Neo in the Matrix. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't fucking matter at the end of the day. So.
We're gonna do a quick ace really quick, but there's a line of people.
I want to touch up on what you said about how surrounding yourself by the right people and everything. So when I first moved to LA, I lived in this content house and everything. And, you know, I thought I liked it and everything. Yeah, little content house, and I thought I liked it, but in reality, I was so miserable. I'll never forget. I had a mental breakdown. That's how bad it was. And I called Juju. He remembers. I called him. I was like, bro, I need to get out of this house. Let me come over. And he's like, bro, stay at my place for as long as you need. And even Seuss, when he came to one of the parties at the house, he knew that wasn't my kind of people. Like, I was surrounding myself by a crowd that I thought I belonged to. In reality, I didn't. And now that I'm here with you guys, you know, at Comic-Con, I realize, even though I don't cosplay, I realize, you know, this is the community that I'd rather be a part of. Like, the whole content and all that, it's cool and it's all flashy and everything, but I felt alone in a crowded room. It's one of the most loneliest feelings. But I could be with just Seuss and Juju, just my friends, like one-on-one, and I'll have all the love in the world for them. So you gotta surround yourself by the right people.
We're one person take it because I want to hear all of these.
Maybe we just go down the line and just.
Yeah, well, we're literally gonna go down the line. So sorry.
Thank you guys so much for your time. This was an amazing panel. And this goes for anybody that wants to answer it. Have you ever experienced, and how do you deal with the imposter syndrome?
right now.
That's all I ever.
My go-to, not to get political, but I don't give a fuck. I'm like, if Donald Trump can have the dumb fuck confidence to be president, if Donald fucking Trump can have a following, then what the fuck makes you think that you can't have one? There are fucking people out there doing less than you, succeeding, getting more money, getting more opportunities for whatever reason, privilege, right place, right time, and they may be like no less or more worthy than you to be receiving those opportunities. And life is short, and my greatest fear is ending up on my deathbed, 80, 90, whatever, and looking back on all the shit that I was afraid to do because I didn't feel like I was good enough. And I always envision that. I time travel into the future. I time stone it into the future. And I'm on my deathbed, and I'm looking back, and I'm like, shit, what if I never moved to New York? Like, what if I never started posting on TikTok? Like, I don't want to take my last breaths and be like, all these things I wish I never did just because I felt I wasn't good enough. When there's idiots, complete idiots, succeeding. Fuck that.
Hi, I've met some of you a few times, Spider-Man fan of it. I also have posted content and gaining a small following. How do you guys deal with kind of the pressure and kind of the I don't know what the word is, but just emotional, like you're so connected to your content and you spend so much time, you wake up in the middle of the night, I have this idea, and then it flops, or your family just like, you're doing this. How do you deal with that?
So I'll like to answer that personally. So when I first started on TikTok, I was doing movie reviews with Juju. Like we met each other like week after people started our content. And at first we were just like, bro, my video is not blowing up, it's not popping off. And yes, it can be discouraging because you put so much work into a video and you're thinking, oh, this is gonna be the one, this is gonna be the one. Only gets like 100 views, and you're just like, well, why not? But I encourage you to never ever delete a video, no matter how many views it gets. Because I look at it like this: you can make a video and say it only gets 10 views. 10 views is a lot better than having no one else watch it at all. Because that one and even to this day, like I'm grateful for following and like everything, but I don't like to look at the numbers because I realize if I constantly look at the numbers and have an expectation of what I want and I don't meet it, I'm just gonna be disappointed in myself and be depressed. In reality, I have to remember, hey, if this one doesn't work, make another one. If that one flops, you make another one. If that one flops, make another one. You only ever fail at something the moment you stop trying.
Yes.
That's it.
I think we all have videos with like low views, but it's our favorite video, and it's that low view count like their favorite video.
Put a lot of hard work into it.
I don't look at stats anymore because, like, you know, shadow banning happens and everything, and I realized, not PTSD ass, but like, no, like my emotions would be like directly attached to how my views were doing. So I stopped looking at the stats. Every creator platform, it has the analytics shit. I don't look at it because I'm like, no, I do this because I like it. Whether it flops or not, who cares? Because somebody's enjoying it. Who gives a shit? And it's not something that I can't control if I'm getting suppressed. I can't control that shit. So I'm like, I don't look at that stuff. And if it's meant to pop off, it's gonna pop off.
Yeah, just want to say thank you. And y'all inspired me to post content in the first place.
You look awesome.
Yeah,
This Jinx cosplay is killing me right now. Love your show.
Okay, so just as a white person existing on the internet, how can I just be a better ally?
Listen.
You're here. You don't have to.
Listen, you need to be up to date with what's going on, because when we do talk about mental health, and that's where I'm a huge advocate, I understand that some people cannot use their voice because they have trauma, or they have been silenced, or they're working on things, or they're going through their own shit, and
they should not have to be the ones to fight all the time. It's on us, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah, read, and ask questions to those that you are specifically close with, you know, not just like, don't reach out to people just to reach out, but do your research and then invoke conversation based off of that, because we can make changes, we can all do it together, but we gotta learn, research, and then communicate to form a plan.
Can I add just one thing? You are allowed to be a part of the conversation, just don't be the loudest in the room.
As well. I'm seeing this a lot lately. Just stay informed, and if you're just sharing something, just share something and support without really making sure what you're sharing. I'm seeing a lot of like misinformation and stuff spread through people trying to help but not actually doing their research. So just be informed if you're going to stand up.
Thank you so much. We have like 8 minutes. I'm trying my best.
If we listen.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna do the perfect cast, and it's gonna be amazing. Anyway, this actually goes out to some of what you were saying, but also just in general. I, produce my own content with a podcast, but also you tend to, when you research, end up being somewhat academic. Right, and it's like you're using words like, intersectionality, privilege, oppression, et cetera, and there's kind of a balance I feel between like the fun stuff and okay, I'm gonna get down and tell you these details. So how do you find the balance between, the things that you really enjoy and you're like, okay, we really need to talk, and making your research or what you've done accessible to the audience who's there for the more enjoyable content?
I think Straw Hat Goofy can talk to making the hard pills to swallow Goofy.
My answer was I just do it.
It's like, you won't learn today, or else.
It goes back to I think what Nikki said earlier, or one of us probably said it multiple times, but I'm so sorry.
No.
I cut you off 1,000%. But it's, if they aren't there to listen to every message you have to say, like they're there to see you. They want to hear what you're saying, and if they don't, then they shouldn't be on your page. Yeah. You can't cherry pick your creator. I'm a creator, and you're here to see me. So if you want to see me, you're getting everything.
You have to accept all of me.
You have to accept all of me.
You become you become your own niche, basically. Like people, like whatever you talk about as a creator, people like I don't care. Like I want to see you, and very often like I'll do something briefly political, and I'll have some Confederate ass. And that's like, I loved everything you did until now. I'm like, did you see what the fuck I look like? Like, you like me when I'm tap dancing and entertaining, but you don't care about my personal issues, then bye, bitch. Bitch, bye.
No. Sorry, we got 6 minutes. We got this. We're gonna go.
So, I see almost all of you are, at least it's somewhat personally invested, like not only in your content, like not only like your face, probably your name, and I always wanted to ask you guys, what are your thoughts on the phrase, the personal is political, on a scale of 1 to 10, and how do you put that in your content?
Personal is political.
I've never heard that before, but just off of what you said, my response to that is all political opinions came from a personal point of view.
Okay.
Hi. So I just wanted to ask a question about the inclusive, well, not exactly the inclusivity, but how you said about standing up to your friends and how you have to put your foot down. How do you go about that with the family issue? Like a minor going about that with the family, with their parent or sibling?
Helpful, guys.
So I can sort of answer because I'm mixed. So my mother is European, she's white. So I've had to have these conversations with her of just basically saying hey, you cannot do, so for example, I had gone to protest for Black Lives Matter, and she had told me Cleve, I don't want you going because it's dangerous. And so I had to sit her down and be like, hey mom, you are my mother, you love me, and you care about me. You will never be able to understand this because you are not Black and you are not a minority. I just need you to understand that this is important for my people and for me. And just come to her and come to whoever it is from a place of respect. I think yelling and everything in somebody's face is not going to let them get the message, but just sitting down with them and being like, hey, this affects me in this way, this affects this person in this way, and being extremely respectful about it shows your maturity and shows their maturity, and if they don't meet at that level, then they're just not supposed to be in your life, like point blank period. So, it is hard.
Like 3 minutes. We got this. We're gonna
I don't have a question, I have a statement, but I just want to say thank you guys so much. Like, you guys inspire me every single day with your content. Like, it really means a lot to me, especially with the Black community. Like, it just means a lot. Like you guys are just amazing.
You look amazing.
Hi, I'm Shane from Trevor. I wanted to ask, how do you guys deal with the not people trying to be racist, but accidentally racist on your platform? Well, I built my own robots. That's what I do. I built my own thing. I don't like copying anything. But I still get those comments of people being like, hey, look, it's Urkel. Or hey, look, it's Static. Or hey, look, it's every other random smart Black character you've ever seen.
My favorite way to trap these motherfuckers. No, because you don't want to. I don't like to put emotional burden on myself as a Black woman. And so sometimes, like, I'll be in live stream and somebody will be like, you're pretty for a Black girl. But here's the
girl, you gorgeous, period.
Husband felt that all the way to New York.
but I'll be like, instead of launching in a great way I find is like, what did you mean by that? Yeah. And then they'll have to keep on explaining. And the thing is, eventually they're gonna run into the points, and they're gonna be like, and of course, it's gonna get to like, oh, you're light skinned, you have some Eurocentric features, and it just becomes evident, and then it's like, I guess you ain't gonna do that shit again. You know, make them explain it. Don't no emotional labor. You don't need the emotional labor, especially as a Black person of color. We go through enough. No, let them dig the grave, and then watch because it's fun.
This works excellently, even with sexism, homophobia, anything. Like make them make an ass of themselves. Just like, I really don't get it.
Yes.
It's an all-purpose point.
I do the three. I'm gonna try my best to get to you guys. I don't think we're gonna get because we have like 3 minutes, but I'm gonna do my best. Sorry, keep on. Can we go till 5? Is that okay? I know you have another panel coming in. We just have these last 3 questions to get through.
Please.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Patrick.
Patrick.
I thought it was
Hi. You're a Marine, right?
I am.
He's a Marine.
I actually had a question for you. Yeah. I was just curious. So I'm going through my own mental health.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm trying to do the VA. It's taking a long time, but I actually don't have my own money to go to an actual therapist for it. So I just wanted to know, like, what did you do, I guess, or like, did you just wait, or like, how did you go about it?
Yeah. So if the VA isn't working for you, where do you live?
I live in LA.
You live in LA. Okay. So there's the VA, but there are also VA centers. So the VA completely fucking failed me in life. But there are also like VA centers that aren't exactly the hospital. And so like my therapist comes out of the Harlem VA, and they offer free therapy, like via Zoom and everything, especially in quarantine. So if you're not getting any luck with the VA, look for VA centers around. Most of them have PTSD centers and clinics, and they can be able to hook you up with a therapist.
So when you like editing videos, do you ever have like moments where you just like either it takes so long that it's just not funny, or you just don't care
Absolutely
anymore?
not. I love everything I do.
So I hear like, hey guys, I'm like, power through.
I'm just staring. I feel like
oh no, I'm like, no, this shit's funny.
Show your homework. Hey, yo, check this out.
Editing is one thing, but hearing yourself repeat yourself in real time, it's a whole. If you can get through that editing.
When I show up on my husband's For You page and he's in the other room, I'm like, turn the shit off.
And you're done.
Give it a like so
Hey y'all.
Hi.
I'm a film editor in the business. I really stuck costume design, so I respect what y'all do. Before I get the question, you give Margot Robbie a run for her money. It's kind of what you brought up with like the movie conversation, but we know that costume design really defines character, right? So Lana Wachowski, who directed Matrix 4, recently came out and said, I know a lot of people don't want this, kind of like what you guys talked about, like you shouldn't cosplay as this. She goes, I know a lot of people didn't want Matrix 4. I know there's going to be a lot of people that complain about it, but I made it for the people that understand the art. I made it for the people that can see beyond the screen and understand what I'm doing in the metaphors and what that story's about. So kind of talk about where you have to sometimes, with all the inclusivity that's amazing, but you still have to say, okay, I understand it hates the hate, but I got to do it for the people that also care and they actually get inspired and they do this because I do it. Talk about that.
Can I jump in on this because there's so many instances where this happened. This has almost become my catchphrase whenever something with POC comes up, and specifically is, ooh, the white people ain't gonna like this one. I say that every single time, specifically when Haley Bailey was.
I knew you were gonna say
You know what I'm saying? Then right after, Yara Shahidi was casted as Tinkerbell, and I'm like, black people taking over Disney.
Actually, funny thing about that, so I had somebody, one of my friends, who used to be one of my friends, say something about that, well, you know where this is going. It said something about the Little Mermaid thing, and she at one point was just like, I don't know why she's being made black, I just don't think it matters. And I'm just like, exactly.
John Boyega was a black solution.
If
it doesn't matter, then they can be black.
And that's where we apply the all-purpose point thing. Right. It's like, oh yeah, why do you think so? Huh? And then it's hilarious to hear people explain, well, she lives underwater, so there's no sun that gets into her pigment. If we want to get scientific, if she lives that deep underwater, if she lives that deep underwater, she would be translucent. Okay, translucent. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? She wouldn't have human skin. So the fact that you're more willing to accept that than a mermaid with black skin, that says a lot about what you're trying to say. So when it comes to those type of things, again, just apply the all-purpose point and watch them squirm.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, I just want to give a shout out to you. You've been doing great even in this room today, just calling out to us. I really appreciate it.
I have to come and rep you guys.
Yeah.
People rep my movie shit, I have to come and rep the people that do these amazing cosplays. I got to. Right?
He's been great all day.
And I want a selfie with everyone, so yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hi, I'm Claire, and I wanted to ask a question on how do you guys think is the best way to show diversity and inclusivity through all platforms of media, from music to TV to social media?
Just literally looking at somebody's talent and know what they look like. I feel like that you can get a whole diverse cast if you just looked at their talent and not what they look like. I think that's really, at least for me, that's really just what it takes. It's like if I was to get all of you together and just look at your talent, we would have a very diverse group of people. So that's at least just for me.
I'd say a lot of the problems with that is honestly the straight white men that have lots of money and continue to ask the same for people in everything. It's shitty. We need to do better.
Chris
We
Pratt,
could
look
have
at
done.
you.
And Mario won't even have an Italian accent.
We have two more. Thank you so much for your question. I don't want you to feel like I didn't.
First of all, I'd just like to say I am a big fan of all your content, and especially you guys are following since 2019. You're one of the first people I saw on TikTok. So and also thank you for your service. I just want. Okay, I dressed in Choma cosplay from Genshin Impact, and I don't have the wig for his cosplay because I just don't like the wig because I don't like wig styling or anything. But I posted the content, and one of the first things I see on like one of the videos that did very well was, "Oh, you look good! Can't wait to get the wig. Then you'll look perfect." And I'm like, "But I don't want the wig." So what's your best way of dealing with that kind of comment?
Then you fucking do it.
When you get unsolicited comments on your cosplay, say, "This is my PayPal. Thank you."
Your ears are so cute.
Thank you for reading.
So my name is Alice, and I'm not white, I'm Armenian, and like my culture, our people have like, they're like, they have big noses and they have like, different features. And I've been told to only cosplay like Hanji and Annie from Titan because of my nose. And like, I want to do other people, but I don't know if I'll be good enough or I'll look like them. And I don't
You
know
will.
what to
Do it. You'll be fine.
Yeah,
Just do it, because I get people that tell me like, why haven't you done Chun-Li? Why haven't you done every other Asian person? Because I'm half Mexican, but I look so Asian, and it's like, why are you doing all these? Just do it. Just do it. I promise you, you're not gonna regret it. You're gonna love
You will
yourself.
have more people that are supporting you, like all of these guys, than you will have haters, and your friends will always be there to back you up.
Literally everyone in this room, if anyone gives you shit, at me. Just at me. No hesitation, literally at me and I'm there.
Again, literally, like what someone said, like the beauty about cosplay is appreciating the character and the different faces that you can bring to that character by being you. And again, whoever gives you shit are probably, they are doing so much less than you, so much less effort, because it's so fucking easy to comment on someone's page and tell them how little you're doing, and I'm like, oh cool, with your fucking 10 followers, bitch.
No
Like, it takes so much courage. It takes so much courage and work to just put the effort in. Know that no matter what they say, the fact that you tried and all they did was leave a snarky comment makes you better than them.
Gave you a view.
So that's the panel, guys. Everyone bring that pic though. So we can crowd as close as possible and COVID though, but like be safe.